One Piece, the worst loss every Straw Hat pirate has had, ranked. The Straw Hats have experienced their fair share of losses in One Piece. Here are the worst losses that every Straw Hat has had. One Piece's pirate world is an unforgiving place. Each and every aspiring pirate sets out to the sea with the full resolve to die, an essential aspect that separates individuals with dreams from crude sea hooligans. In addition to that, losing a battle in One Piece can very well be equated to losing one's life. The competition is that tough. The Straw Hats each had their fair share of lost battles, be it prior to them joining the crew, or after joining. This is just how it is. Unless you are the Pirate King, you are bound to lose a few battles. Even Yonkos are no exception. Here are the most frustrating defeats experienced by every member of the Straw Hats. 10. Jinbei vs. Mihawk. Jinbei has to be one of the most underrated characters in One Piece. He has done feats that even a Yonko commander would have a tough time achieving, such as knocking Big Mom, a legitimate Yonko, off her feet. However, like most pirates, Jinbei had his bad days as well. In a brief confrontation against Mihawk, he was, unsurprisingly, overwhelmingly defeated. It was a one-strike bout, but the results were very clear. 9. Franky Straw Hats vs. Bartholomew Kuma. Franky hasn't been featured in a lot of fights, let alone ones where he came out as a loser. That being said, that doesn't mean that his record is clean. Franky did in fact lose a battle, and he did so terribly. The opponent that he and the Straw Hats were up against was out of their league because of a huge margin in capabilities. The Straw Hats vs. Kuma encounter doesn't even qualify as an actual fight, it was more of a one-sided massacre at best. Even with Franky's vast array of weaponry, there was nothing he could do against the one known as Tyrant. 8. Chopper Straw Hats vs. Bartholomew Kuma. To put it into perspective, the fight between Kuma and the Straw Hats was so much more than a trade of fists, it was a reality check, and a really timely one at that. The Straw Hats had been sailing smoothly up to that point, and they would have sooner or later hit a dead end if it wasn't for Kuma's intervention. To be fair, though, Chopper did try his best to alter the results, albeit it was all futile. One monster point added to the equation won't be able to repel the repeller. 7. Usopp vs. Luffy. Out of all of his fights, there has only been one fight where Usopp put his entire mind and soul into, only to end up losing. It was a fight fueled by Usopp's deepest insecurities and fears to be abandoned. He might have put up a good fight against Luffy, but a loss still is a loss. It's pretty ironic how Usopp's worst defeat to date was against a friend rather than an enemy. 6. Zoro vs. Mihawk. If the Straw Hats vs. Kuma was a group reality check, then Zoro vs. Mihawk was a personal reality check. We have to admit that Zoro played his cards wrong during that encounter. He knew that Mihawk was the world's strongest swordsman, yet he still challenged him. Besides being a wake-up call, that fight also served as a major milestone in Zoro's character development. 5. Nami vs. Arlong Pirates. Most of the Straw Hats have a sad and heart-wrenching backstory, Nami included. She, a little girl, was utterly helpless as the Arlong pirates invaded and ravaged her home village. Furthermore, she had to give in and go above and beyond to buy back her village. Stealing to gather money wasn't unusual for her. However, after Arlong betrayed her, Nami hit rock bottom. She was left with no other choice but to ask for Luffy's aid. 4. Robin vs. the World Government. Robin is another member of the crew whose role doesn't lie exclusively in combat, and for that reason, her fights were always sparse. More so. Robin has tons of experience up her sleeves, she can in all likelihood escape most confrontations before getting pinned down. However, there is one enemy that overpowered Robin. And it did so ever strongly, the world government. They pushed Robin to an inescapable corner, had it not been for the Straw Hats, that would have been it for her. 3. Sanji vs. Big Mom Pirates. Sanji breaking down in tears and asking for Luffy's help was hands down, the moment he felt defeated the most. On one side, Big Mom Pirates were scheming to wipe out his family. On the other side, he didn't want to escape on his own and leave his family to their fate. In spite of the inhumane treatment he received from them, Sanji still chose to save them. A testimony to his kindness. 2. Brook Rumbar, Pirates Fall. Given how it's building up, the Wano arc would most likely give each of the Straw Hats the recognition they deserve, and this strongly applies to Brook. Despite getting some screen time in the whole Cake Island arc, it's nowhere near enough to satisfy the fans. Brook's biggest defeat up to date has to be the defeat from 50 years prior to the story. It was a defeat that he wouldn't have survived has he not eaten the Yom Yom no Mi. His enemies at the time were unknown, but they were strong enough to completely wipe out the Rumbar pirates. His previous crewmates. 1. Luffy vs. Marineford. Luffy is a character with a busy battles record and a similarly busy loss record. His most recent loss was against Kaido, it took one solid hit to seal his fate. But the aftermath of that fight was still not as severe as the aftermath following Luffy's defeat in Marineford. While he wasn't technically fighting to defeat someone, he was fighting to save someone. That defeat, in all sense of the word, nearly broke Luffy. His body was hanging by the threat and his mentality was rock bottom. Props to Jinbei for resetting him on the right track.